Hey VC, it's me Roger back with it's more plastic and paper to show you. Little bits of plastic and some paper upon which I have projected all of my deepest desires. Cheers VC. For you beer lovers out there, I forgot to show last time, but I am drinking a nut brown ale from Blackstone Brewery here in Nashville, Tennessee. Blackstone, yeah, it's been there for a long time. It was kind of our home away from home when we first moved here because we didn't have furniture, so yeah, it's pretty good. Like a British nut brown ale, nothing fancy, not too sweet. All right. So by the title, you probably get the feeling in the description that this is going to be an all-metal episode. And so if that's not your thing, feel free to not watch this, dislike it, whatever, I don't care. But I've been on a kind of a metal kick. It suits my mood these days. And it just so happened that one of my local stores got a big collection of like extreme metal records, and you don't see them around that often, so I scooped up a bunch and I want to share them with you. But first, I did buy one new record. I was seduced by the hype sticker. This is Ancients, two eyes. Their second album, Voice of the Void, on Season of Mist, 2016. Double album, gatefold, hype sticker, you know, said it was like this great progressive metal record, name checked Opeth and Mastodon. I was like, all right, fine. Out of Canada, I guess. And this is good. I'm musically really strong. But I tell you, Liz and I are sitting on the sofa and the record's playing. And the guy starts singing, "I will crush your skull and grab your heart out of your chest." And Liz and I turn and look at each other and burst out laughing. Now that's obviously not the response these guys are going for. You know, it's maybe it's a big fail. I don't know. The thing about metal for me is it's almost impossible to take it really seriously, you know, and so but at the same time, musically, it can be so good. And musically, this is really, really good. All right, so let's see. What next? So yeah, this store gets in a lot of stuff, and you kind of have to stay on top of it. But anyway, they got a bunch of extreme metal records. Not all of them so extreme, but you know, it's a really good thing that we have these things, you know, to look things up and find out what things are, because a lot of this stuff, you know, I'm a metal dilettante. It's not like Sonic Mainliner where I have this inner teenager that won't go away, you know. Because when I was a teenager, I was the worst jazz classical music snob you ever knew. I was so obnoxious. It wasn't until I got into punk when I lived in Boston in the 80s that I then got into metal, and then not even then, but anyway. So it just sonically, you know, just, yeah, I dig it. What can I say? All right, so speaking of like punk and, you know, the Boston in the 80s, I picked up the 7-inch St. Vitus. They're still around. Now, I remember seeing them back in the late 80s, and I think they were signed to SST back then. And you know, there's this thing like pure punk, and then there was always this metal element, you know, that the pure punks poo-pooed and blah blah blah. You know how that shit goes. But they're still going, and you know, they're just now a full-blown metal band. And although this sounds just like they sounded back in the late 80s, kind of more in a heavy rock than like really metal, kind of. So this is a limited 7-inch on Season of Mist from 2012. Limited numbered. A side is a studio track, B side is a live, B side live track. Yeah. I got a bunch of 7 inches because I'm not really into 7 inches, but I do like picture sleeves, and you don't see this stuff around very much. So what do we have here? You gotta love the unreadable fonts. That's like a thing here. So I had to take some notes here. So the name of this, it's a split 7-inch on Southern Lord. I kind of like Southern Lord. Okay. So Scourge Sahor has the A side. Scourge Sahor. Malicious Resplendence. And it's a really killer, like, blackened death metal thing. It's an EP. All these spin at 33. Although I think this is a 45, actually. But yeah, so this is an EP. On the other side, we have Stryborg. These are both Australian bands. This is, I think, the only recording this band has done. It's pretty tremendous. And then the Stryborg B-side has Psychedelic Nightmare and Syncopated Pandemonium. It was okay. The A-side is pretty killer. Then we have Serpentine Path. These guys are out of New York, I believe. Yeah. Death Doom kind of thing. I don't think they exist anymore. This is on Parasitic. It's exactly what it looks like it's going to be. Yeah, pretty great. And then finally, the last 7-inch I picked up was Mitochondrion. And the name of the EP is Anti-Numerology on Dark Descent. And let's see, these guys are Canadian, like blackened death metal. I don't know. Now, these genres and subgenres and subgenres, it's bewildering. This is cool. This is really, I dig it. What can I say? All right, so some LPs. Yeah. Cheers. Rock on, people. Rock on. All right, this is not really metal. This is Nothing's first EP on A389 Records from, I think, several years ago. I can't remember now. They then went on to Relapse, and I have those 2 Relapse LPs and there's a couple EPs. This is more like shoegaze with like heavy guitars, but like whispery vocals. They kind of remind me a little of Jesus and Mary Chain, although they don't maybe really sound like Jesus and Mary Chain, but like more that than like metal, This is cool. So I have their other records. This is out of print, so I was like, great. So now I have all their records. Cool. Here's a band I did know about. Vokoun. They're out in New Jersey, I believe. And so this is their first album, which was originally came out on CD in 1996, I think. They're like really one of the original Doom bands. And this first vinyl edition came out in 2011, I believe, on Creation. With a K, not the British label, but Creation with a K. So yeah, Doom, like funereal Doom is what Discogs tells me they are, and that's appropriate because it's like really slow tempos for the most part, and really lugubrious and very atmospheric keyboards, and you don't hear a lot of keyboards in extreme metal. And this guy's got one of the all-time great growls ever. I mean, he's just. And so this expands it to 2 LPs. First LP is their first album, Shades of Night Descending. And then the second disc is a bunch of demos. I was expecting those to sound like crap, as they often do, but they actually sound pretty good, and they're not duplicative. It's interesting stuff. So and then their second album, Embrace the Emptiness, which originally came out in like 99, I think, something like that. This is also on Creation, and the first vinyl issue from 2011. This is great. This is just, what can I say? It's great. All right, so is this, and this I didn't know anything about it. Did a little Googling and listened to a little bit online and thought, okay, that sounds cool. But really, really, really rang my bell. Charon, they're a German blackened death album, but very, very blackened, as the cover would definitely lead you to believe. So the name of the album is Sulfur Seraph, the Archon Principle. Their only record. I think they've been on some comps and there's like a single or something, but their only LP from 2012. I'm not even sure they still exist. But holy crap, this is intense. It reminds me a little of like Bluetooth Nord and the like layered, just a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, this really suits my mood. And for their one and only record, they really did it up. What label is on? Sepulchral Voice. This is their crazy lettering's embossed here, and there's a giant poster and an insert and inner sleeve, and yeah, it's really nice, really nice. All right, so is this. Didn't know anything about this band, but this is great. Fell Voices, Regnum Saturni. Another New York City, like, Black and Death band, I guess. So, no, California, but I think they moved to New York. I think one of the guys is involved in this Serpentine Path record. I'm not totally clear on it, but anyway, this is like their third album from 2013. Another beautiful package. I mean, gorgeous gatefold. In fact, I'm going to show it to you. I almost was like, I don't care what the music sounds like. This is just such a nice package. So this is all spot varnished and really nice, heavy cardboard. Fell Voices. So this, let's pull up the list. It's a 3-sided double LP, and the fourth side, as I recall, is that right? Yeah, it has a cool silk screen. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it starts off, the first side, I was like, not much is happening here. But as I listened to the whole thing, and it's 3 long tracks, by the third track, it like all comes together and with like cumulative force, and I was like on the floor, by the time this was over. Really cool, the nice thing about finding these things used, these lightly used records, is that they were, could afford to take a chance. So here's Ruin Lust is the name of the band. Ruin Lust. And this is their self-titled record from 2013, their only record. Another New York black death metal band. And it might be that band that's involved with that Serpentine Path. I'm not sure. This didn't leave a huge impression on me, but it was intense, like black metal, and interesting recording. Like, one of the tropes of black metal is like bad sound quality. Which can sometimes work in its favor, and in this case it does. It makes the drums sound really kind of messed up. It's like really interesting. I don't know. It's cool. Alright, this was intense too. Christ Aside. I gotta pull this up too. Christ Aside, yeah, French black metal band. This is their first album from 2007. German label. Well, I think it's a French label, but this, for their first album, it was located in Germany. That's what I can tell from the Discogs. Whatever tells me is true. It must be, right? So yeah, Christ Aside. The name of the label was Of Crawling Shadows, and it's numbered Number 534 of 666. What can I say? Intense. It's exactly what you would expect. Yeah. All right, just a couple more here. Yeah, one more from that store. This is the name of the band is, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce this at all because for lack of vowels. Mugla, MGL with a line through it at A. Mugla. Pardon me. And Grotza is the name of the album. It's a pretty cool cover. So what's the deal with these guys? Polish black metal band. Their second album from 2008 on Northern Heritage Records. You know, to be honest, I just got these recently, and it all starts to blur together a little bit. But this was, you know, just what you would expect from a cover like that. And then finally, there's another store around here that is like really hit or miss. I stopped in and I found one thing, and it's cool. Pelican's first EP, self-titled EP on Hydra Head. This is first press. It was the one vinyl item I was missing from Pelican's discography, and so now the completist in me is happy. The very first track on here is classic Pelican, which is like instrumental I like to call it. Post-rock is a word that gets thrown around at them. So it's like heavy instrumental rock. Yeah, I'm glad to have this to complete my collection. And that's it, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I have more records to show, so I'll be back soon. Take care. Bye.